I saved for 2 years, worked overtime, worked in a new field, lived in an apartment to rent out my house to get rental income on my tax returns so that I can buy a duplex. That sounds like a lot, but what did I do? I went to work for 2 years and I saved money. Like,
Mm.
it's not like I went out and developed completely new habits or changed careers or went off and pursued a trade school or a degree or something to make significantly more money. And then what I do for the next 2 years? Saved for the next rental.
Folks, we're going to have an adult conversation, one that you are probably not going to like. And frankly, that is okay. I want you to know that the average person cannot reach financial independence, financial freedom. It's just a sad state of affairs that the average person can't do it. Dion, do you agree or disagree?
So I think people should have a drink ready because this is going to be that adult conversation that they might not want to hear. Because here is almost a mantra that I say in most of my videos, right? Hopefully people know the but not today and why I say but not today. But I also say, I believe the average individual can reach financial freedom in 10 years or less and make work completely optional, even if you're not starting from the best position. And this is the video where we clarify.
Yeah,
I
because I'm
don't
not.
think the average person can do it.
I agree with you. I'll even be more black and white. Uh, I'm I don't like gray. The average person can't do it. The average person can't do it.
Yes. So when I say the average person can do it, I say that the people who reach financial freedom are average, right? 12% of people who have millions of dollars inherit it. So that's 88% are self-made. That's the Dave Ramsey study and
Okay.
the Millionaire Next Door study, right? Tens
Okay.
of thousands of people. So I don't think, and you and I have said this many times, so no insult, but I think you and me are kind of average, right? We don't have super
I,
rich parents that we don't have
you know, our
millennial Mike's looks, maybe whatever we're missing to be not average. But
we are frankly below average on so many things. I mean that's there. Truer words have not been told. If people know our history, there's nothing about us that screams even average. We're below average, and at least I'll admit it, I'm a below average in lots of things and lots of areas.
so throughout high school, I had 2 jobs and I graduated with basically a 1.1 GPA to get into the Marine Corps. Like that was, you don't get much more lower than average than the lowest average you can get to pass. But
Strong 1-1. That's strong.
when we talk about the average person, right?
Mhm.
Statistically average, I mean, I want to say 50% of the more people doing something makes it kind of the average. 60% of people in the United States don't have $1,000 set up for an emergency, right? They can't handle a $400 expense without going into debt. Even people making more than $150,000 a year, 50% of them are living paycheck to paycheck. This is the number that gets me the most. Between the age of 55 and 65, so you're right at the cusp of retirement, 48% of Americans have zero saved for retirement. So if we, that's I have to rub my eyes too when I think of that. When we talk about the average person doing that, we're not saying, because this was a great question, and I wish I can remember who, my memory is a trap sometimes, keeps things out or in. I don't know which way. But it was a great question. I actually wanted to make a video on it. Is what if everybody became a landlord?
Mm.
And it's because I keep saying the average person can reach financial freedom. And that's because the person with average means who changes from being an average person, stops living paycheck to paycheck, actually starts saving and investing for retirement, whether it's early or late, and is no longer doing what the average person does, making it seem like, well, the average person can reach financial freedom and retire early. Where are all the workers going to come from? Have you met
You met
98%
average?
of the people? Right.
That's funny. I got a comment the other day from a crash bro that basically said, there's this guy talking about everybody getting to 4 rentals. What happens to the world if everybody gets 4 rentals? I'm like, dude, you're just out of touch. I mean, it's just a
So
warped mindset.
a crash bro makes a video and 4 days later it has 150, 200,000 views, no matter what the topic is. People are looking for an excuse. I talked to my nephew yesterday, which he's borderline genius, right? Because everybody always says between genius and insanity, it's a really fine line, which means he's right next to genius. He says, I listen to all of the Crash Bros because what he's doing is he's looking for the thing that they say that's consistent across all the channels, and then that must be the thing that's right.
Oh,
I couldn't
really?
even take the time to break that down to explain to him. And this is why you're going to work until you're 80.
Yeah. You know what I think is really funny? The average Crash Bro rents. The average Crash Bro uh, turned to YouTube because they were not successful at their day job. And the average Crash Bro is producing porn, doom porn, and getting paid for it. That's the person you choose to listen to? Okay, see you later. That's why you have the hardest job. I cannot stand the drunk idiots in the parking lot. They're just stupid. They're just so dumb. It annoys me.
It, I think it's the most rewarding. I don't know if I've said this before, but this is why. So the analogy is for anybody who hasn't heard it is there's the Four Musketeers, if we include Millennial
Sure.
Mike as D'Artagnan, right? So I'm in the parking lot telling people financial freedom is possible, right? I'm average. I'm not super smart. I've got some issues. I started from a really bad position. I was able to make it to where work was optional in about a decade. Other people can do it too. Then you're in the stands with all your millionaire presenters saying, here's all of the routes to take it. There's no one right way, right? There's all these different strategies. And if you get to four, then you can decide, do I go all in? Do I just have a better retirement because of these four, right? And then Matt's out there on the field, Millennial Mike's out there on the field, and they're saying, here's how you self-manage rehabs in 100 plus units. Here's how you do it at a distance. Like we all
Yeah.
have that stage of the analogy.
Yeah.
I think if I find the person who just doesn't think it's possible, right? And I feel the almost depression level pain of
Mm.
life sucks. Everything's stacked against us. Stock market is basically insider
Rigged.
trading in a club we're
Yeah.
not in, right? Real estate has a significant barrier to entry and then a significant barrier to the time between start and reward being evident, right?
Amen.
So it's really hard to get into it. But then I find the people. So today, REI owners, Josh Martin, Josh and Mary, they're actually coming over to my house. Josh met him, I want to say 2 years ago. So he's in the 2 year later stage now. Drove from California. We went to lunch. I live in Washington. Significant ways to go to, I don't know if you
Yeah,
drove,
that's a
but we went
commitment.
to
Yeah.
lunch. He studied the market. They moved up here. They got jobs. They bought a duplex. They're house hacking. I connected them with lenders and agents and handymen, and one handyman kind of blew up in both of our faces. So that's how that goes sometimes. But I've been with him through this whole ride. When somebody does the one rental at a time and we interact with them and they go, okay, I have 10 units, now I have 14, that's a significant milestone. But to me, the reward is they didn't think it was possible. This was probably going to work until they die. And now they're on the property ladder. That's why I
No,
don't mind in the parking lot.
let me agree with you. Being in the parking lot is where you're going to create life-changing moments, right? The people that you get from the parking lot to just believe that it's possible and thus get into the stadium is the most important part. None of this works without you. None of this works without you. I just can't do it. I can't take all of the arrows and the stupidity and the repetitive nature. And so I am so glad to be, brother in arms. I'll take the ticket at the gate. I've got you from there. But yeah, it's doesn't happen without you for sure.
Well, I appreciate that. And so now the goal is somehow finding the narrative of, yes, the average person can reach financial freedom, but you have to find a way to stop being average. How do we
Well,
trigger that event?
that's the key. That like I accentuated, hopefully people picked up on the word average when in the beginning. I hopefully that was clear that that was the word I was anchoring on. The answer is don't be average. And the really, really sad state of affairs is it doesn't take that much to not be average. It's
So
so
if you talk to the average renter and you say, you're paying a mortgage, it's just not yours, the light bulb might come on. If you talk to
maybe
the average person and you say, house hacking could make this go a lot easier and maybe faster for you, The average person isn't going to do that. I don't know with each person what it's going to take to say there's another way. But I agree with you. For my first 4 years, we say the first 4 years is terrible. If it's first 5 years are slow, they're going to happen anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I saved for 2 years, worked overtime, worked in a new field, lived in an apartment to rent out my house to get rental income on my tax returns so that I can buy a duplex. That sounds like a lot, but what did I do? I went to work for 2 years and I saved money. Like, it's not like I went out and developed completely new habits or changed careers or went off and pursued a trade school or a degree or something to make significantly more money. And then what did I do for the next 2 years? Saved for the next rental, one rental at a time. Whatever path you take, yeah, there's faster ones. You can recycle capital. You can do like the financial firefighter, cash out your retirement accounts, put a bunch of money to work, and realize that maybe growing that fast sometimes isn't as fun as it sounds, which he says often. Yeah, be average, but make those small changes. I was still the average working single parent, working overtime. My side hustle, playing World of Warcraft kind of was at home so I could be with the kids, right? It wasn't go out and work another side hustle so that I would never see the kids. I had to find a way to monetize some of the time that I was with them. I think all of that is average with small tweaks.
Yeah, one of the things, so I'm on a little bit of a health kick. I'm trying to get healthy, try to drop some weight, trying to run a marathon at the end of the year. I had a buddy talk to me over the weekend. I guess during the week, I have no idea what day it is most times. Anyways, he goes, Michael, do you know what the average female, how many pull-ups the average female would do? Right, because this person's a CrossFit trained athlete and he's a beast. And I went, I guess one. Average is zero.
That's why a lot of the military and law enforcement agencies have a dead hang timer. You have to be able to hold on for 30 seconds or whatever the time is. And so, yes, average is a pretty low bar when it comes to physical fitness.
Well, and the reason I use that example, because again, average is zero. It doesn't take, that's just a physical fitness one, but it's the same thing in finance. It doesn't take that much of a tweak to not be average. Save $100 a month, pay yourself first, have a buy box, look at it every day, cut out some of your friends. I mean, if I go back and I just think about the conversations I've had in the last week, Anna Kelly and I talked about, we talked about Dave Ramsey and Ramit Sethi and this whole thing about cutting out coffee. Basically, Dave Ramsey says, cut it out. I don't know, I forget what it was, 50 grand in 10 years. And Ramit's like, don't focus on the small stuff. Anna's story was, I had a two Starbucks a day habit. I cut it to one, right? It doesn't take that much to not be average. And what I think Dion and I want you to believe is you can do it. If Dion and I were able to do it from where we came from, anyone can do it. We had no silver spoon, nobody in our family. We have horrible financial backgrounds. We made plenty of mistakes. You can do it, but just stop being average.
Which is going to take a plan and then
Agreed.
discipline to stick to it. And it doesn't have to be real estate. Like there's
No.
all of these paths to financial freedom, starting and growing a business to the point where it gets big enough for somebody else to run the day to day. Stocks, whether it's diversified index, dividend, whatever your method is. And sometimes it's a combination, right? I believe in the Charlie Munger method of focusing on one asset class, mastering it, and then diversifying later to protect your wealth. But an example is my neighbors. And they haven't given me permission to say their names, so I won't. But they live across the street. They had 11 rentals. And they're in their, I believe, 60s. They're divesting themselves of their rentals and buying dividend stocks because they've got their finances figured out. I believe they still are going to keep the house that they're in, which is a triplex. So they're still going to house hack and have that.
What? Hacking at 60? Who would have guessed?
Because it makes it able for you to have like the coolest old cars that you want and the boats and the trips and do all the things that they want. And that's kind of my purpose for house hacking is, Dave Ramsey would go, here's a budget, cut out these small things, the latte factor, right? And Dave's got some great advice, right?
Oh, yeah.
Don't use consumer debt, have an emergency fund. Like I agree with his first two rules and his seventh rule. They're amazing. Everything in the middle doesn't mesh with me, right? And I like Ramit's too, of don't worry about the small stuff. I went that route. I took my largest expense,
Hmm.
right? Since I wasn't making six figures, my first 8 years of investing, I don't think I broke 60,000 until the eighth year when I made 61. So taxes weren't my largest expense like they are for most people. It was housing. And I house hacked. And instead of saving, $5 a day on whatever soda or whatever I'm going to drink, I saved $1,200 a month on where I was living, which
It's a
had
great unlock.
had like a three-way impact. In order to make the 1,200 to pay where I was at, since it's taxed, you have to make 24% more than that.
Mhm.
And so that's the first thing. The second thing is I'm able to save $1,200 more a month. The third thing is my freedom number came down by $1,200. And then when I moved to
Exactly.
the fourplex, my freedom number was negative 2,500 because I was getting paid to live there, which is kind of like the duplex I'm in now, where within about a month and a half, I think the other unit will be rented. So no mortgage, other side rented out. Get paid to where you live. I don't I want financial freedom because I don't want somebody telling me what to do. And a budget is just me telling me what to do. So I've never
Yeah.
had one, and I don't want to have one going forward.
So when we really key on the word average, right? Coming from bad spots, I just lost 80% of my stack. You had $250,000 in consumer debt you didn't know about. Single, three kids, 17 bucks an hour. You know, did you did you know like somewhere deep down that this was possible? Or did you just leap of faith? Or how did you go from that below average starting point to just getting on the journey?
There's a lot of times where in 2018 you wrote a book and you started doing YouTube, and I wish I'd found it in 2012, right? I wish I'd found it 6, 10 years earlier. It would have made my journey easier. I had some examples of people who reached financial freedom by investing in real estate, and they had abilities, assets that I didn't have. My brother is a craftsman. He could turn a falling down mobile home into a really nice looking rental. I had a friend who had no kids, was single, could live in a garage at a friend's house and worked as a real estate agent and grew up, had 19 agents working for him. Like he had all of
Mm.
that time and energy. I had 3 kids, a lot of bad debt. Um, I'm not an entrepreneur. So for me, and I don't know if I've ever thought this through, so give me a second to put this into any logical words. From 30 to 40 happened. I survived working a W-2, raising kids. So I knew I could live 10 years how I was doing. I used to say, I'm probably never going to retire early. I'll probably not even retire late. I figured I'd work until I die. So I knew the next 10 years were going to happen. And the reason I wish I found your content is you said, well, if I could just get to 4, my retirement would be better. Right? That was a starting thought that you had. My retirement would be better if you can get to 4. I looked at it like the last 10 years happened, the next 10 years are going to happen. If I could buy one rental every 2 years, in 10 years, I'd have 5.
Mm.
And that was the kindergarten version. What I didn't realize is in 10 years, I'd have 5, but one of them had 8 years of rent increases. One had 6, one had 4, had opportunity to refinance to lower rates. I had all
Mhm.
the massive appreciation that can happen because it can go up or down. Like real estate doesn't
Sure.
always go up, but over a long enough time period, it goes back up. So my goal was just those 10 years to happen. What I didn't anticipate was between year 5 and 10, when I stopped being average and I started having income from side hustles, income from work. Work didn't matter. I could lose my job, so I could take more risks at work because I had the money from the side hustle, the real estate. That those next 5 years, the, they talk about compound interest, compound asset streams of income.
Exactly. That's what I want. Like when I so you're absolutely right. First go back in time. I had no dream of financial freedom. I thought, I mean, in my family, my father worked. And then when my sister went to high school, my mom worked. Shout out mom. But she was a stay-at-home mom for most of my childhood. Hardest job on the planet, by the way. Um, but what what I thought success looked like, and again, this is just me. My thought of success is you would work for your family until you died. Why did I think that? Because that's what my dad told me. My dad was never around. He was gone before I got up and back after I went to bed. And when we saw him on the weekends, he he did whatever he did. And it's just that's what I thought success looked like. Dad works until dad dies. So I had no, I mean, even when we were starting and we had a few units, for me, it was only about having a better retirement. When I'm 65, life will be better. I will have options. But to your point, the asset compounding, the income snowball, the owning assets for a decade, it's the unlock. If you were not average at the beginning and sacrificed a little, and then you hold these assets for a decade, I like your chances. I like your chances.
Yeah. Me too. And I think there's a balancing act there of Robert Kiyosaki, the Brandon Turners of the world, to talk about the stack and the monopoly.
Mhm.
I haven't played Monopoly in a billion years, so it's like 3 green houses, 1 red hotel. I think that's the order
Four,
of it. 4. So
four.
4 green houses, 1 red hotel. You trade up, you trade up. I like the houses. I like the
There's
30-year
nothing
fixed
wrong.
rate debt.
There's nothing wrong with, like, most people should just do your model. Get to 8 or 10 or 12. Shoot, get to 4. 4 greenhouses are amazing. You don't need red hotels.
No, the balloon payments, loan reevaluation periods, debt restructuring. If you
Ugh.
have a large portfolio where you have hundreds of units and you take a small portfolio percentage of it and you say, I'm going to put this to work in an appreciation play, or I'll have the cash flow to handle the balloon payment in 5 years. Sure. But for somebody like me that was just looking for the right amount of cash flow from the least amount of units, which, by the way, thanks for introducing me to Coach Carson. I've been looking forward to that meeting for a while. The small and mighty investor, right?
Mhm.
Um, that fixed rate debt, it's to me, it's the swan account. I sleep well at night.
Yes.
I don't ever have to think about that again. I will watch rates because black swans happen like 2020, and I
Mhm.
refinance half my portfolio. So in 2020, I refinance half my portfolio to less than 3% interest.
Mm.
And
Good
then I
job.
add half my portfolio in purchases in 2020, a fourplex and a triplex at the time, at that same interest rate. I think the second one was like 3.8 or something. It was, had started
Oh,
to look
horrible, horrible.
horrible.
3.8.
Yeah.
Horrible.
And that one, I've said this on your channel before. I don't think I would have got that property if I wasn't watching your daily updates, because I was watching prices and prices were going up. And I thought, well, it's getting a little harder. And you said, well, what's going on with interest rates? And I ran the math and I was able to pay. I was paying like 150 a unit. And then this one was 175. It's a low interest rate. And I was like, that's a better deal than what I was doing before. So thank you for that.
Welcome. Yeah. And again, folks, the average person can't do it. I would dare say the average person won't even try. Don't be average. It's so not hard to be not average. I mean, look at your friends, look at around you, right? The community is full of average folks. The average folks, I think I read this somewhere a couple months ago, is overweight, divorced, doesn't have $1,000. And oh, by the way, can't do a pull-up. I just learned that the other day. So freaking A, who wants to be average? That's crazy.
So I try to keep things simple as much as possible, keep things as simple as possible. And this is the thing I'll wrap up with. We talk about the average and we talk about the median. And we say, here's what's happening with median home prices. And when luxury changes, it can look like prices are coming down, even though the homes that investors are looking for are probably going up. And we talk about who has what saved for retirement and who has X amount of dollars for a reserve and who is average. But here's the number, here's the concept I want most people to do. Take a soft survey of everyone you know and find the mode.
Mm.
Forget the outliers. Elon Musk throws off things like, well, the average person in the United States has this much money saved for retirement. No, average and median tell us nothing. Look at the mode. Who are you around? They say, you show me the 5 people you spend the time with, I'll show you who you're going to become. Look
Yeah.
at your coworkers, look at your family, and think, how many of them do you think have $1,000 in the bank? How many of them are saving to invest? That mode is what we need to escape, right? We can be
Amen.
the average, and a couple of outliers make us look good. But if you escape the mode and you find a way to stop being average or median and stop doing what everyone else is doing, you can make work optional. You can continue to work. It's totally an option. I don't understand it, but it's an
Yeah, I
option.
don't understand, but it could.
Right.
Leon, how can people find you?
Well, thank you, Mike, for calling me on this random video that we did together on a
Sunday.
Sunday, right?
It's
Sunday. Today's Sunday, right? I
Sunday.
should have known that. Me and my brother did a live yesterday. And we had to think of what day it was. You can find me right here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom, where I do things like I'm about to do, where I'm going to go and do a live on why is it so freaking hard to buy a house in 2024.
Look forward to that, buddy. Take care of yourself. Thanks.
Ciao.